afternoon, and welcome to our Healing Arts Project. This is Sue Johnson along with colleague Judy Allen. We're co-coordinators of our Healing Arts Project, and we'd like to welcome you, Shanice Lockhart from the Black Mental Health Organization, as our interview guest or conversation guest for the next few minutes. Our project, just for you and for others who may not be aware, is a continuation from last year, working on mental health issues, mostly affecting the minority community, okay? And it's a three-prong approach. One approach is through having, excuse me, allergies. Having health professionals talk about their organization, where people can go for help. Another component is having performing artists appear, musicians, vocalists, dramatists, what have you, appear and show how their music or dance or poetry can help with mental health issues. And then the third component is our play reading component, where we invite original works. And this year it'll be 15-minute works that we can present as staged readings to audiences, showing how people have dealt with and are in the process of trying to overcome mental health challenges. So we want to welcome you to this portion of our project, and we're going to ask Judy. She's going to hold the main part of the conversation, and then I'll kick in. To begin with, you and Judy, would you start talking a little bit about who you are and your position?
Yes, of course. You want me to introduce myself, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, Shanice. Welcome to you once again. And
Yes.
if you would briefly tell us about your background and your experience in the mental health area and with the Black Mental Health Corporation.
Yes, thank you so much. Again, my name is Shanice Lockhart. I am a licensed professional clinical counselor. I have been counseling for about 7 years now. I have worked primarily with young people, young children, adolescents, and I gradually started doing more work with couples and families as I have started at the Black Mental Health Corporation. I have only been there for a short amount of time, but in that time, I have learned so much, and I have been able to connect with more people within the Black community and helping them deal with some of their mental health issues and struggles, especially within the city of Cleveland. So I have been, again, working for quite some time and doing counseling and mental health services for people who are in need.
So how long, it's my understanding that the organization is located in the Shaker Square area?
Yes.
Okay, so how long has the Black Mental Health Corporation been in existence? Why was it started?
Yeah, so Black Mental Health Corporation, our CEO Desmond, he had a vision to really help people within the Black community. A lot of times when I have received clients or when other professionals at the Black Mental Health Corporation have received clients within the Black African American community, they were told that they didn't feel understood or they didn't feel heard from other people outside of their demographic. So Desmond realized that vision and I believe like 8 years ago, and he realized how much the people were in need to have that connection culturally to get the help they need.
Yeah, what are some of the special needs of African Americans with respect to mental health and healing?
Yeah, so a lot of African Americans and people within the Black community, they want to be able to connect from I would say, a collectivist perspective, not necessarily individualistic. A lot of times there are also spiritual components that I find that a lot of my clients want to connect as well. And they don't always get that from other providers. So when we factor in, the arts, when we factor in spiritual ways to heal, when we factor in faith, a lot of times you can say like the European construct does not make room for that all the time. So, and a lot of times we don't always understand different cultures unless we were raised around those cultures. So when people are coming to me, they're understanding that I can at least identify with them on certain levels. And when it comes to mental health problems, sometimes there are like spiritual or family issues that I can understand based on my upbringing that maybe another professional may not understand because they didn't have the similar upbringing.
And can you clarify a little bit? You mentioned collectivist approach versus individualistic approach.
Mm-hmm.
Can you clarify what you mean by that?
Yeah, so when we tackle some of our life problems, sometimes people tend to focus just on that individual. Like, okay, well, this is your issue. This is something that you're dealing with. So just focus on you. But then when we think about our culture, we often we live in a village. We have family. You know, we have certain people within our society that are included in that problem. They're systemic issues. So we can't just always look at it as the individual problem. We have to look at it as levels of a family-based level or a community-based level or a systemic-based level.
Okay, thank you. Now, do African American men, women, and children have specific, or you could even break it out into teens,
Mm-hmm.
do the different subgroups have specific needs regarding mental health, healing, and well-being?
Yes, I would say just from a developmental perspective, sometimes children and younger teens, they still want to engage in like play, or they want to engage in the arts. That's how they express themselves. I find a lot of the teenagers I work with, they're really, really great writers, but they don't realize they're great writers until it's brought up in the therapeutic environment. They start to express themselves on paper or through play or through art better than verbalizing it because they don't always have the words to express themselves. So I do find that with the younger population that they're more likely to get healing and express themselves in the art-based forms or in like I would say forms that are not always verbalized. You know, when I work with my adults, they're usually able to piece their words together a little bit better.
Yeah. And I would imagine also with younger clients, engaging in playful activities can be very
Yes.
useful. Like, would be some of those activities?
Yeah, so there are within counseling, there are some licensed play therapists. I used to be supervised by a licensed play therapist, and they were able to get me exposed to sand therapy. So you have a sand tray that's full of different toys, and a lot of times children are able to capture their world within that sand tray because they again can't always verbalize it, but you may see them use a soldier or use an animal figure to tell their stories of their life.
Yeah, Judy, if I may ask, what is the youngest age of, when you talk about children that you begin to service, and how do you know that they need your services if they're, what are they, 2, 3, 4 years old, your younger clients?
Yeah, typically when it comes to counseling, it's also based on their cognitive abilities. So there may be a very advanced 4-year-old, or there may be a very advanced even a 3-year-old. But I typically do not see children under the age of 5. I think the youngest I have ever seen was age 4, and they were very verbal. They were able to verbalize things. They were able to express themselves in ways that not most 4-year-olds are able to do. So it also depends on their cognitive abilities. But I will say, usually those problems sometimes can be based on behavioral issues, or if there's a divorce in the family, sometimes those children may need to process that in therapy.
Okay.
What other tools and techniques do you find to be effective with promoting mental health healing?
Yeah, so outside of using just talk therapy, so again, some therapists just will talk, to you to help you process a problem. But there's also other modalities available. Again, some people use journaling. They will write. They will use some expressive art. So there's music therapy. Sometimes with my teenagers, if they couldn't quite piece their words together, I'll say, okay, bring me a song next week that describes how you feel. And they will actually bring a song that's like, okay, this exactly describes how I'm feeling at this moment. So the music they play, even them expressing themselves through, if they are like instrumentalists, sometimes they will play music themselves. And also, dance can be a form of healing as well, because they're able to get out their emotions, again, that they can't verbalize, they can get it out physically.
Yes, yes. Good. This is good to know. Now, our presentation is called The Healing Arts. So we ask
Mhm.
you right now, how can the arts really play a role with mental health healing and mental health hygiene?
Yes, I love that. And I really appreciate that you all have that program because, again, if we look at a lot of the other ways that people tackle mental health, it's usually with, talking through things. But when you think about the art forms and how that can be healing, there's so many different ways of expression. And again, when we're working with people who don't always have the words, or if they are overwhelmed with sharing their words, sometimes just having that moment of feeling peace or just feeling relaxed through dance or through the arts, or through listening to music or playing music, that can be so helpful and beneficial because you're not only just getting your mind off of what's stressing you out, you're actually de-stressing. We're releasing, if you get into neuropsychology, the happy serotonin that is increased in our bodies when we're involved in certain activities, so being around loved ones, can increase our serotonin. Being around people who are supportive, doing something we enjoy, physical activity in general is recommended, by, medical health professionals. So of course, if you're dancing or if you're doing something you enjoy, you're going to naturally feel better.
Question,
Go
Judy,
ahead.
excuse me. Now,
Mhm.
just while you guys continue, can you give us some specific examples of the types of problems? For instance, you mentioned
Mhm.
divorce, but are
Mhm.
there other specific issues that the community tends to deal with? I mean, of course, there's domestic issues, there's
Yes, domestic violence.
job, finance. Okay, can you give us some examples of what you deal with?
Yes, of course. Great question. I deal with a lot of family-based issues. So there could be family communication, sibling rivalry. That's a big one. I've seen that quite a bit. I've seen quite a bit of, unfortunately, within the city of Cleveland, there is a lot of community violence. So I'm dealing with people who are coming from either really violent communities or, within their families, there's incarceration. So they're dealing with an incarcerated parent or incarcerated loved one. I have often come into issues with a parent who may be dealing with a child who has a parent who has substance use issues, addiction issues. That's pretty common as well.
Okay.
All right. So then, from your perspective, and we're winding down, but from your perspective as a practitioner, what's some of the counsel you might be able to provide for our healing arts audience right now relative to fostering their own good mental health?
Yes, I tell people to look at themselves not just in one area, but just holistically. So when we look at ourselves, we're often made up of our professional lives, our social lives, our mental health, emotional lives, and also our spiritual lives. So when you look at all of those parts of wellness, look at those areas and see which area you may need a little more help in. If you're not satisfied, with your job, what are areas that you can what are things that you can do to increase that area, or if you're not satisfied with your social life, what are things you can get involved in to increase a better social life? If you're not satisfied spiritually, what can you get involved with spiritually that helps yourself? So look at yourself not as just one problem, but holistically. What are certain areas that I need to dive into to be able to grow better? And I mean, it could be something simple as, starting off as I'm going to go for a walk each day in the morning, or, I'm going to join this bowling team because I know I haven't socialized and I'm really good at bowling, or I'm going to join this dance team because I used to do this when I was younger and it brought me joy. So I think sometimes we get so caught up in the quick fixes, but then there's so many things we can just do naturally. Walking outside and looking at the trees can be just as healing, if we take the time out to do it and appreciate what's around us. So it doesn't always have to be a medical fix. It doesn't have to be, 10 years long of therapy to get your healing. You can get it, with small steps and just, and taking in nature and doing, small things.
Good. Oh, great, great answer. What I'd like to do right now is to share with our viewers just the website for the Black Mental Health Corporation. And I also share that we will have specific contact information on posted to the Healing Arts website. So just wanted to share that information that was present on the screen. My final question before I throw it to Sue is, Shanice, what else would you like Healing Arts viewers to know about your work, about mental health, and about the Black Mental Health Corporation?
Well, I always think it's important to know that, the healing is, we can do it in the office, but it also can happen in home as well. So what I teach a lot of my clients are things that they can apply with each other at home. So if I'm teaching you a technique to, practice mindfulness, or I'm teaching you a technique to be able to, write out your feelings, those are things you can do throughout the week. It's not something just to reserve for therapy. So that's one piece of, I would say, advice and a suggestion I give people is like, try to replicate what I do in the office with your families at home. It can still be healing. I'm only spending one day, maybe 2 times a month with you. Whereas when you're with your family or your community, you're there probably most of your days or most of, your weeks. So, it's important to replicate what's being learned outside the office as well. And, also anybody who is, of course, interested in mental health, programs, be sure to try to make sure that you're learning as much as you can. The Black Mental Health Corporation is always looking for Black mental health providers. So I think that's something that if you really want to work with this population, you're always willing to, you're always welcome to, apply and reach out if you're interested in working with youth or with the Black community.
All right. That is really great counsel. So at this point in time, Sue, would you have any more questions?
Well, couple quick things as we close out. How does someone get referred to you for services? Do they contact you directly? Are they referred by a medical or mental health professional? And then what is the best way to contact you or the appropriate spokesperson directly? Your email, your phone number, your website, so that people can get through to you. And another piece of that, is there a fee associated with your services? And if so, is it a sliding scale or a certain range? How does that work so that people can begin to get involved with your service?
Yes. Yeah, so of course, if you go to the Black Mental Health Corporation's website, you'll be able to know the insurances that are accepted. They do take a wide range of insurances. So some people have a small copay, some people don't have any copay. And of course, there are people at the office that are there to help you if you need an adjustment. There is a wait list because, there's a lot of people that are interested in getting Black providers. But, if you are interested in those services and if you are wanting to sign up, you can just go to the Black Mental Health. You can call. Our number is 216-512-0321. So they can always call the office and leave a message if they're interested in getting signed up for services. And then, of course, my email, they can contact me if they just have general questions, slockhart@tbmentalhealth.com.
And we'll have that up on the screen for folks, for our viewers. So we want to thank you so much. I mean, there's only so much we can talk about in 20 minutes. But you've given us a wonderful foundation to learn more about the Black mental health community. And just out of curiosity, do you work with other minorities or is your focus only to the Black community, such as, do you have any or referral resources for Hispanics or other minority communities who may contact you?
Yeah, so if we never turn people away, so even if they are not identified as Black or African American, we will not turn you away. So far on my caseload, I believe all of my clients are within the Black African American community. I think I maybe have 2 clients who are Afro Latino, but they're more than welcome to still come in. We're never going to turn anyone away. And of course, if there are any other resources that are available, we do have a list of referrals that can be made if needed.
Okay, good. And that includes, because nowadays, oh boy, nowadays, and we have to learn more about it too, but of course, the equity, inclusion, and diversity issue, and of course, the and I don't know all the letters, LBGQT,
Mhm.
whatever, you work with those communities as well in
Mhm.
referral services or direct services.
Yes. 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 Again, we'll never turn people away for services if they're really interested in receiving help from us.
Good. All right, darling. Well, thank you so much for your time. Please tell Vince and your other staff that this will be up on YouTube. It'll be up on the website as part of our overall